So let's get started quickly by, first of all, introducing ourselves to some basic terminology. So I'm writing a couple of words here on which we need to focus at the outset. The first, um, let me get my pen in order. Right, so the first word that I'm giving you to think about is reward. The other one that I want you to think about is risk. And the third one is exposure. Right, and once we have accounted for these three, then we will bring in hedging. Right, so let me give you an example situation. Let me throw three sentences at you. Sentence one is sentence one. Let me write it here. Sentence one is that if you take a night walk, a late night walk on a moonlit night. Well, I'm creating a little bit of a romantic scene for all of you there. So a late night walk on a moonlit night. The moon is shining brightly. It's a cloudless sky. Stars are there. The moon is there, and the breeze is cool. And that can entice you to go outside and take a walk, take a stroll. So a late night walk on a moonlit night is beautiful, or can be beautiful, depending on your own personality type, that is. That's the first sentence. The second sentence that I want you to think about is that if you go out for a walk like this late in the night, then that increases the chances, or that increases the probability or a chance of you getting robbed. So chances of getting robbed increase because of this action of yours. And the third sentence that I'm giving you to ponder on is that you decide to take one such walk. You take one such walk. Now, if you were to match these three sentences with these three items here, let me call this one A, this one B, and this one C, then which sentence would you associate with which word that you see on the left-hand side? Obviously, the pleasure or the beautiful experience that you can derive out of a late night walk on a moonlit night is the reward. So if we were matching the sentences, we would say that this sentence can map into some kind of a reward, intrinsic satisfaction, or the pleasure derived out of that walk. But in doing so, you are exposing yourself to the possibility, you are increasing your vulnerability towards getting robbed. So basically, the exposure is that you take one such walk. So this is your exposure, right? So you're increasing your vulnerability towards getting robbed by deciding to take one such walk. And the fact that there may be a chance of you getting robbed, something unpleasant might happen because of this, that is the risk. So this maps to item B here. Well, of course, you can hedge your risk. You can hedge your risk. How you can do that by let's say let's change back to color red and say you can hedge the risk, or you can hedge your exposure against this possibility of getting robbed by take along a strong friend with you for protection, right? So that's hedging. Hedging basically means, so if you were to think about hedging, it would simply mean that you are thinking about immunizing yourself against a certain risk or exposure. You could also say simply that hedging means or can be interpreted as some kind of a protection that you create, or some kind of a barrier between yourself and a risky situation. So these are the three words that I wanted to start with when we start thinking about risk management. And I should have said it at the top, that while we're talking about risk management here, this is not from the perspective of an individual investor. This is more from the perspective of a company or an enterprise or an institution. So whereas you would believe that as an individual investor, maybe you would, if you were asked to manage your risk, you would go with the age-old proverb of not putting all your eggs in one basket, and diversification would be the key word there. That would be the mantra. So spread out your investments over a number of dissimilar assets. That is what the diversification principle is, and that's perfectly applicable to an individual investor. But if you start thinking in terms of a company, hedging might be a better idea, which, as you will learn in a little while, means taking an offsetting position in similar assets or similar variables. So the talk is no longer about going for dissimilar assets or uncorrelated assets. We are basically going to be focusing on similar assets, but the difference is going to be that we are going to take different stances, offsetting stances in the same asset. For example, buying something and selling the same thing are two opposing stances. So, but that something remains still the same. So that's a preliminary idea about what hedging could be, and we will develop more understanding about it as we proceed further in the topic. So let me ask you a question here. Can I say that out of the discussion thus far, can I say that risk does not arise unless you are exposed to a risk factor? So if you heard the sentence correctly, you would realize that what I just said was true, actually. What I said was that risk will not arise unless you are exposed to a risk factor, right? So let's just formalize our understanding about these three terms here. So when we say reward, let me write this in a different color now, because we are transporting our understanding, basic understanding about reward, risk, and exposure into a corporate sense now. So let's say that reward for us means a compensation, compensation. Pretty bad handwriting, so I'm going to erase that and rewrite this for you. Let me pick up the pen. So a compensation then, compensation for something. Well, for what? For taking risk. Right. And then what is exposure? Exposure, ladies and gentlemen, is vulnerability, as I said earlier, vulnerability, vulnerability to a risk factor. And well, what's risk then? Risk, as you know from before, maybe from your prerequisite courses also, is simply the probability or the chance, probability of loss, right? And in this case, probability of some kind of a financial loss.